quite. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another SGNY study group. Remember that we are going to be recording this studies. If you don't feel like showing yourself in the camera or something like that, or change your names, please, this is the time to do so, okay? We are studying the book by Joanna de Angelis and psychographed by the medium Divaldo Franco. And the name of the book is Alert. It's not yet published. So we are going to be sharing our screen with you so you can follow. And we are already on our 16th week of studying this book. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Time really flies.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so let us start talking about today is item 16, like I said, noble investment.
Mm.
You invest in the stock market, capital markets, stocks, tormenting yourself with results that are always uncertain, variable. You invest in titles and foreign currency, in insurance of varied modalities, thinking of luck surprises. You accumulate banknotes, buying metals and precious stones, safeguarding yourself in a cautious position. You acquire real estate and livestock, banking accounts, capitalize interest against the frightening inflation that commands financial resources today. You think and select the means, listening to bankers and experts of economic matters regarding which investments have the best return in the market at the moment. You discuss with emotion passionately about the situation and stockpile resources to be cautious. However, no matter how much prudence and how careful the precaution, the paths of the future are unpredictable. The path of the future are unpredictable. The stocks, capital markets, the titles and currencies, the real estate and animals, the jewelry, the insurances do not offer peace to anyone. You suffer shocks, change currency and prices, lose yourselves, fall apart. Many investors, taken by panic in the games and oscillation of prices, go insane, commit suicide, and even kill. Okay, so that's how Joanna de Angelis starts talking about this lesson, noble investments. She, as always, we repeat that she starts the first part establishing uh, the subject that she's going to be developing. So here, obviously, she's talking to the material self, right? Us material beings, us living in the material world, us having material worries. And of course, this means being worried about our financial situation, our uh, security, our independence, all that is related to our material needs. And what she's trying to point out here is that regardless of how much we may invest our time in trying to prevent situations that could be dire in terms of financial burdens, we never know. And there is always something that can happen. Well, for instance, a pandemic, and that can shake the face of the world, can overnight change the values of things, and lead us in a situation that if we are just focusing on the material aspects of life, it can be very damaging to us. This has been the reason of many suicides, of many criminal situations, many crimes, and just because, again, we just focus on one aspect of life. Any comments or questions?
Well, this current time is a very challenging one. In addition to the COVID-19 challenge to health, there's word out that we may have a challenge in the financial system in the United States because they're talking about devaluing the dollar because they're printing so many dollars. So it's not going to get better in the immediate future.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In economic history, every time then we have like up down in the financial market, we have many people commit suicide, um, with instability of psychology, behavior, and things like this. Then I think it's so important to take care and to see with it, to balance our behavior about investments in economics and to guarantee our future, things like this. But balance this. This is okay. It's important because we are living here in the material life, but it's not the top of our priority in our life.
Yes. Somebody else?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with Sonia. Is absolutely right. She's not telling us. She is so precise, and what she's telling us here is that yes, okay, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to live, and we need we have to capitalize sometimes the interests of our money and to take care of us and everything that is needed in life, yes, materially. But what she's trying to tell us, I believe, is that if we exert it to a point that we become obsessed with it, and not watch what we do, and and remember that uh, it's not all material, that we also have to focus on spiritual, who we are and what we're here for. All these things are so important for us to move on and grow and follow the good way of living, not all material things, and to a point with a lot of being careful of what we do, not overexert ourselves in the material world. And yes, we need uh, finances, and we need money to survive. And yes, it's okay to have a bank, and it's okay to do real estate. But I think is what she's trying to tell us is to a point not to obsess ourselves with this because it's only for a time being as we're here for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well is that she's not talking here about any kind of interference from the spiritual plane, meaning interference from God, from the good spirits, from the bad spirit. No, she's just talking about, the way things are. Like sometimes one thing that is very valuable today, tomorrow is no longer the same thing. We have our interest in the different thing. And so, companies that open up to pursue a certain line of business that today may be very valuable, in the future is not going to be that much. So it's the natural movement of things. That's why she's saying it's something that oscillates quite very much. And this is the reason why we cannot say for sure that this is the best course of action for us. And obviously, if, focusing on only on the material aspects of life, we miss other perspectives. We miss, developing and doing something here that was the reason why we came back in the first place. We didn't come back to be financially successful. Okay, unless you have a specific mission to change the face of the world with your fortune. And but for the majority of us, for this is not the case. I mean, we will have our professions, we will have the condition to uh, make ends meet, do the things that we have to do, but not necessarily this is the reason why we came for. Even when we, in the case of being very successful in one area, the reason was not to make money, but it was actually to develop our intelligence, to expand strategies, to provide betterment for the world. So we have to think about it. Let's see here, Orlando. Money we equal happiness. While we have a physical body, we will suffer the consequences related to her. Yes and no, right? I think that money can provide us with a lot of comfort, distraction, not necessarily happiness. You can be in a paradise here in the world and still do not have peace of mind. You can be alone. You can have maybe suffered a loss, a great loss, and you have problems. I remember I used to have one of those little pictures on my office that said, it used to say something like this. Uh, it's sad not to, have things your way, but it helps if you can suffer what you have to suffer in Paris. Like, if you have to face the struggles, let it be in Paris. Something like this. And yeah, in this case, Orlando, it makes a difference because, like for instance, now examining the pandemic. At the end of the day, we are going to the same hospitals. We all have the same, the same conditions. Maybe then you are going to return home, not having to be extra worried about job and et cetera, et cetera. But the virus catches us all the same. And there is nothing that money can prevent in this situation, right? So yeah, we may have good distractions because of money. We can temporarily feel a satisfaction, but happiness in the true sense of the word, it's not necessary. We cannot put them on physical things. It's mostly related to our emotional states. Um, right? Okay, so let's read a bit more here. It's just one phrase, actually. Even if all goes well, with exultant results for you and the assets for which you are a temporary steward, death will come and everything will stay and change hands. Okay, now she gave a blow.
That's it. She gave it to us.
Saying, if what I said before is not enough to convince you not to put all your chips, right?
Right.
In just one basket or something. How do you say that? Put
That's
your
it.
chips.
But
Oh,
that,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Because sometimes I mix up sayings, you know. So then she comes and say, and you know, at the end of the day, all our visas are going to expire and we have to return.
everything ends.
Right? So everything ends, exactly. So and this that we have amassed is not going to be of any value to us in the new life or in the new way of life. Okay, we can say, oh, it's good that I have a lot, of possibilities. And because of this lot of possibilities, I did something good. But just thinking about the good, you know, the material things is not going to make any difference. And sometimes it can actually get in the way because we can be very distracted with this, you know, cautiousness, acquisitions, and etc. And we become completely oblivious to the spiritual aspect of life. Questions, comments? Again, it's important because, as Sonia mentioned here, every time the spirits come to talk to us about material things, they are not coming here to say those things are evil,
Right.
or it's going to make your soul, you lose your soul. No, they are just calling our attention to the true values of things. They are not saying here that we shouldn't be imprudent, that we shouldn't think about the future. On the contrary, they don't say, even when we read this passage of in the chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism, they don't say anything like that. They talk about us, yes, being prevalent of us, you know, not becoming a burden to society, etc. But they are not talking about us being dependent of, you know, of others or society, or being completely dependent on the material aspects of life. They're just calling our attention. Remember, you are not here just for that. And this should not be the only thing that would be the reason for you to worry about. Okay.
And
Yes.
you don't need to be attached with something. It's up, down, it's waves. Then, because when you invest for the spirits inside yourself, it's like stable. It's more stable than this material situation. Then it's up, down, it's waves. It's not be attached with this.
And one thing that is important to say here as well, this has nothing to do with how much money you have. You will find people that are very wealthy. They are not that much attached, that are very simple, uh, that do their share of, assistance to those who haven't, we have nothing. And we can find people that have very little and is still be very materialistic, very frustrated of not having more, very attached. Those people that do not want, not want to share anything. Let's say you're a boy that has one toy and you don't want to share. You may be a boy that have 20 toys and you will share all the 20. You see? So this has much to do with our selves in terms of its spiritual involvement as well. Of course, the greatest temptation of living their lives in this way could be to those that have more, but it's not necessarily what we are going to find in the world. Let's see what Orlando put here. Um, yeah, root. Yes, that's what we have to do. Also, put our money to good use and helpful to others. And sometimes what happens, Ruth, is that we don't even put the money to good use to ourselves.
Mm.
Right? I mean, sometimes we are not thinking about, being more careful with ourselves. I mean, sometimes I don't know. We can go and buy a new clothes, and then your health is not so doing so well, and you say, "I'm not going to pay $200 for to visit a private doctor," but you spend $200 for a new dress. You see how contradicted we can be. I'm not thinking about myself the way I should, right? And then we see what Orlando is saying. But we live in a material world. Don't the spirit understand that money is a means of survival in life? Of course, we have money as a means of survival. And this, like we said, it has nothing to do with what Joanna de Angelis is talking about here. She's talking about here about excesses, about us using all our time, our energy, our resources. Sometimes we see people that, that have fortunes, like this is, we see that, and they live, like a miser.
Yeah.
They do not even take advantage of this, not for themselves, not for their the family, not for others, because they are just worried about the future. So this is not exactly what Joanna de Angelis is talking about here. Of course, not only we need the financial resource, we need the jobs, we need to occupy our minds and develop ourselves through, useful work, right? So let's read this passage here. Invest in love, transform currency in bread, financial titles in education, interest in medicine, capital towards support of lives that are fading or that move under the whip of violence and aggression. Apply today the treasures that cannot be used tomorrow, removing misery from your path. Build dignity in those that make themselves victims of criminality and vice. Use your resources in the recovery of beings, and you will have inexhaustible treasures, which will multiply with the passing of time. Each life that you sustain will unfold blessings in the path of the future. Never forget human beings in your turbulent investment plans. So here she's offering an alternative. And again, it doesn't matter how much we have. Okay. Um, like we say, steady but surely goes along the way. Okay, like when we have that little pigs that we put our coins there, and all of a sudden you open the pig, there's a good amount of money.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter how much we are using, how much we are giving in terms of amount, but it's our state of mind, is our what we feel as spirits already, that will incline us to understand that, okay, I cannot do much, I can do little, but the little that I can, I will do. So let's say I will provide bread once a week for a family.
Mm.
Okay, after 10 years is 520 breads that you already gave, or yeah, 52 one year, right? Per year. So, it goes a long way. It helps. Uh, and so she's inviting us to think more about the perennial things of life. I mean, this is going to give us happiness. And this is going to go a long way when it's time for us to return to our true homes, spiritual homes. Those are the things that are going to bring us happiness. When we saw the face of a child changing because uh, we gave him or her a new toy,
Mm.
for someone that normally doesn't have any.
Mm.
Okay, are the faces that we are going to remember, and it's not only about the material thing in this sense, but you see this action when you're leaving such a desperate situation in life, and you see people coming and taking their troubles to them, to help them. It gives them hope. It gives them hope in the society. It gives them hope to, to think that I do belong. And it can change the course of life of a child, saying, not all the world is bad. There was this person that came once and gave me that doll that I still have today in my Fifth Avenue office. And that was actually what motivates me to believe in the world and to apply myself in the path of goodness. I mean, we know of the stories like this. We
Mhm.
know of the stories like this. There are many stories like this. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, we don't go after them that much, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
What's going on now with this pandemic throughout the world? You see this happening now more than usual. Investing, like she beautifully states, invest in love, meaning that there's so much charity going around, whether it's bread, food for those that are lacking it now, especially now,
Mm-hmm.
loss of jobs, and sickness. And we see this a lot. The other day in this environment in Cope City, they had this. They're giving food out. We're in the middle class, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel I have so much. And
Mm-hmm.
they coming around uh, for those that are in need, and you see the abundance of charity and how where this money is coming from, whether it's from the government or politicians, whatever it's coming from. But you see the love that
Mm-hmm.
being invested in, and that's one thing that's something good out of this sadness of pandemic that's going on in life. But
Yeah.
you see light in the tunnel. It's a great thing to sense that yes, we need so much growing and we have a long way to go. But then you stop and you say, okay, there's a little light in the tunnel. So let's
Mm-hmm.
follow that light and do as much as we can to give
Mm-hmm.
because it's all invested in love and this is what we need. And instead of pain, let's work with the love. That's most important, I believe.
I think this lesson is also very important because here, Joanna de Angelis is really talking about the material assistance we can provide.
Mhm.
In other messages, she talks about, us offering our time, a smile, our ears to help others, But here she's really talking about material things,
Mm.
showing exactly how much they know we need that to survive, how much we need the resources, material resources to survive. But she's just calling our attention to say, listen, are you really sure you cannot dispense on anything, a little something
Mm.
material or little something to provide to others? Maybe I'm not capable of, go to the supermarket and buy a cake to give to someone, but I can bake one. I will use material resources. It's going to be cheaper if I do it at home, right? So, but then I cannot buy it, but I can bake it, and I can fulfill the same end, which is to give that to someone to have, to enjoy or something like that. So there are things. Maybe I cannot buy clothes to someone, but perhaps I know how to sew or how to knit, and I can do that and provide to those in need in a more affordable way to us. So there are many things. Maybe I cannot provide, you know, a new kitchen to someone, but I understand a little bit of, how things work of construction. I can go there and buy the supplies and help it to put it in place. So there are all those things that we are talking about according to our means, to our possibilities. Like, a doctor that, or a dentist that will give one day of work for free for those who cannot afford. You see, we can use our talents, right? Our possibilities. It's not just about money. All the assets that we have, that it's also money, but it's also other things. And so they are saying here, do not bury your assets. Make them fructify. Give them to others as well. Let's read the final part here. A good investor is who, in attaining a positive balance in the terrestrial plane, sows and applies it in souls, thinking about the ineffable love of God, that Jesus made himself the perfect example. So she's kind of hinting to us here. You want to make your soul more valuable, more, what we long it to be, invest in other souls. Apply yourself to other souls as well, um, with the possibilities you have at hand. And we all have that, okay? Like we said, this lesson we are talking particularly about the material aspects of assistance. But there are also, we know, other aspects of assistance. Just being patient, listening to someone that you see that is, in solitude, and that needs to talk to someone. There are so many things we can do, right? So, and at the end of the day, we are actually helping ourselves. And this is what we miss. We miss. We're just thinking about of losing when we, in fact, we are gaining a lot, right? More comments or questions? I'm going to, well, next week we have liberating tasks. Okay.
Um,
Um,
I was gonna say this that this morning I actually opened the Gospel according to Spiritism on
mhm,
chapter 16,
mhm,
which is exactly towards that they speak about, you know, the salvation of the wealthy and
mhm,
how to how to the parable of the talents
mhm,
and how we should apply ourselves with these, you know, with our money, and that we leave everything here. And I find very interesting that this is the lesson that I get to see
yeah.
here with with Joanna de Angelis, and it's so true that we have to pay attention to what is surrounding us and how much we can help, you know, like you said, we can help with our, even if it's not um, monetary, we can help by just being helping to make something for someone, or even carrying something for someone, and being a good listener, let's say, to a friend that needs some kind of uplifting. And we don't take any of this with us anyhow. So it's good to be detached now here while we can, um, and put to the good use. And when you mention about wealthy people that it doesn't bring happiness, I I see many people that is very wealthy and they are very unhappy, or they commit suicide and they have some problems. So money, it's so is that fine line, because these people are going through trials. Their trial may be deal with their wealth, and and this is we have to kind of like pay attention to how we see money, how we see the wealth, and not really have that envy or jealousy about it, so we don't grasp into that want what somebody else have, because we do not know what they actually are here, what is they're dealing with, and what are their trials and expiation. We may not want that either, you know. So I found very interesting that this lesson comes real exactly with the what I opened the gospel today. For me, it's just I guess reminder. Here it is once again.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right, Ruth. It's what happens, and I mean, we all come to evolve, to learn lessons, and sometimes, you know, the struggles we have to go through, they are different ones. You know, some, for some people will be financial struggles, for others will be health problems, for others is going to be family issues, for others it's going to be one or two combined, maybe not that hard, but the two things are the focus. For others is always going to be the professional life, and for others going to be their children, their parents, you know. But we all go through that. So for us to believe that that if you are in perfect health, oh, I'm the happiest person in the world. Not necessarily. If I have all this money, I'm the happiest person in the world. There is a passage in the gospel actually that they say that normally we uh, the things we want more is youth, power, and money. And the Spirit tells there, not even when you have the three of them combined, it guarantees you happiness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but it's again, we never should lose sight that the idea is not for us to suffer. And those are, lessons that are necessary for our personal growth. It's experiences that will help us to achieve something that will make us even happier.
Yeah.
But even when we are talking about, amassing money, you have to work hard, right? And but you don't mind because you say at the end of the day I'm going to have all this money in the bank, right?
Mhm.
So here we are talking about a different kind of acquisition. Okay, I'll have to work hard, I'm going to face different experiences in life, but at the end of the day I'm sure I'm getting something more, in terms of eternal life. And this is what really matters. Anything else?
And it's how you use the money.
Mhm.
Then what Joanna de Angelis is trying to tell us about material lives, don't feel guilt about the material life. Because many times people has a difficult to give some money to help institution or poor people or orphans. And because I don't know if they are going to use well this money.
Mhm.
Then, but I think it's important to think about this. Sometimes some institutions, some people need money, material money. It's not just a word or attention,
Mhm.
but a money to survive, to pay medication, to buy food, to pay rental space, to pay the lightning bill, then things like this, the energy bill, things like this. Then I believe this chapter is specific about how you use this money and then the way we can use well this money.
Exactly.
Today that I read on the gospel says exactly that you
Then
first you give and then you look at what they're using for, then you see. So first
okay,
you give without
let's
asking.
share something. One day, many years ago, I saw a woman at the street that she asked me about money to buy food. Then I touched my pocket and then I don't have any money. And then I walked like half block and I found money on the floor of the street, like $6. And then I took them, go back and give for that woman. And then I was with my daughter and I explained to my daughter, see, the hands of God use me because I really believe that woman need that money to buy food.
Mhm.
And this, it's money. Was not like I can give one fruit or one kind of food, but that money. And then it's incredible. Then I have no problem about to give some money to help others. then and most of people have like suspicion about dishonest.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an excuse that we use to convince ourselves, oh, since I don't know for sure what they're going to do with that, so I better keep it to myself. And we are actually deceiving ourselves. And that's an amazing story, Sonia. You see, they put it there in front of you because they knew you would not keep for yourselves. Perhaps another person would immediately say, oh, how lucky I am. I got money. Now I have money in my pocket. And just go away, right? So it's very important for us to think about all this. Okay, so if you don't have any more questions or comments, we can end for today. Okay, so Zoraida, can you do the